Vaccination. Look like you haven't aged a bit, Mama Pill. How you doing?
I practice what I preach.
Rob Born in the building, Rob Born in the building. What's going on, man?
No, I actually came to support my people.
We're trying to Google on the spot, and one of my websites actually, one website's actually blocked.
What's up, man? How did you enjoy yourself, man? What do you think?
It was an interesting event, I think, on both sides. I think the anti-vax thing really come with some strong points that I think will legitimately...
Let's move over a little bit.
That'll legitimately make somebody change their mind if they didn't have information. I come from a household where we always had religious examination forms, exempt forms. And so I got 9 brothers and sisters, and none of us ever caught any of the diseases or the virus, rather, that they say we would have got if we wouldn't have got the shots. So I've always been anti-vax because I believe we are over-chemicalized society.
So did you take the shot?
Hell no. We always just fill out those religious immunization forms. And that was work back in the day. You know what I mean? The problem is if I had a child right now, you know what I mean, with the Healthy People 2020, then I couldn't utilize that same form. So now, like they say, it take away the right of the average human being, because even if you look at statistics of shot, let's say if it don't work for 30% of the people, out of 100 million, that's 30 million people. And then if you categorize that down to how many deaths that might be, you forcing people to kill themselves. So you completely take away the right of what a person can and cannot put in their body. Especially now with society and people trying to get extra healthy with the ITAL eating and the vegan eating and all this, and then trying to get away from the non-GMOs, and you forcing people to put stuff in their body, it don't really make no sense. You know what I'm talking about? Now the unfortunate thing is that there was a lot of our people on the side of being pro-vaccination. You know what I mean? And when we look at the history of this country with the Tuskegee and every other Iranian things that this country have done to black men and women, there should be never a point in time where we 100% trust the government to put anything in us. And I think that should be the ultimate point that we get back down to, just as black people in America. Whether the Jews and the Asians and the Mexicans and white people agree, they still have to look at black people and look at our relationship with the government that we had, you know what I mean, and say that, wait a minute, Big Pharma and, you know what I mean, the vaccine companies ain't never ever been good for us, and the government ain't never been good for us. So if any at point in time that they wanted to establish and say that, look, this particular zip code get this type of vaccines, and this is what's going to cause more of the autism, or this is going to kill more people, then of course if we full-heartedly just take the information, then at any point in time they can institute any of their agendas. So it's a dangerous thing regardless on what side that you fall on, especially as a black man that's educated in America, and some of these brothers consider themselves to be scientists, then you got to look at the facts. You know what I mean? It's not a hypothesis that the government has an evil agenda against black people. We was not, it seemed like a very nice conversation today because, you know, it's black people talking to white people and things of that nature, and brothers don't get too out of hand, keep it all small.
But you know what? Why we can't do that when we debating ourselves?
Because we ain't got enough.
Why we got to get disrespectful to ourselves and get personal and talk about each other? And that's what messes up. That's why I stopped doing debates for a while.
This the reason I don't respect a lot of the debates, even though I will say this, I was just in Africa. And a lot of Africans tell me, look, you know, I learned to be African from black people in America. And they were saying basically that the conscious community have done so much information and going back into the history that I learned from y'all things I never knew because we don't have access. So I appreciate the conscious community for being in existence and some of these debates taking form. But when I go out to the UK, they sitting there on the corner having debates, you know what I mean, yelling at each other because they learned how it happened out here in Harlem and Brooklyn. So the ethics that's involved in it is disrespectful. And there's no reason that has to be, especially when you having debates off scholastic points.
Why do you think the black community is not interested in business like we should be? There's some interested, but I mean, like we should be.
I think that it's two, is that they don't come natural to a lot of us. You know what I mean? One, matter of fact, and then two is a lot of us lazy. Yeah, I mean, we don't want to industrialize. So I was in Jamaica. I visited a sovereign group called the Bobo Shanti, and they have their own land. You know, they hail Haile Selassie and Marcus Garvey, but they had no industrialization. They had no business going on, so they really didn't have a way to where they can self-sustain and build on some entrepreneurship movements. So I believe one of the biggest issues is the fact that you look at two of the most prominent figures that black people love, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. Neither one of them died wealthy. If you look at three of the most successful black leaders of all time, Frederick Douglass, Honorable Mosiah Marcus Garvey, and Honorable Elijah Muhammad, all of them left wealthy. All of them have their own media. That takes a lot of work to be able to build up them type of industries. So it becomes different than just talking and say, oh no, I got to build up media, I got to build up education, I got to build up some farmland, I got to do all of these different things. It's not an easy thing. So it's easy for us to just be in the realm of philosophy and spirituality and just to be able to talk and educate the people. But leadership competence is shown by example. You do what you want the people to do. So you leading them to where you want to be. But if you want to just manipulate people to get them somewhere, then you just make fine points. But that's not enough. So today, if the leaders are not being solution-based and actually building anything, then it's not working. So I always say, being conscious is nothing. Because when you wake up, you got to do something with that being woke. So today, we got to look at the people who's actually working, because they can lead us by example and tell us exactly what to do. So I build business. I hire my family. You understand me? If I'm going to talk about health, then I'm going to create a supplement at the same time to where you can change. The only way to shift the paradigm is to create an example of a new one. You can't just tell somebody this the wrong way.
That's my son there. Let me ask you. Let me ask you. You took a big, giant step.
Yes, sir.
At one time, you had a good job. You was working. I was looking at some of your videos when you was talking about you used to work for this.
I used to work for product.
Right. You had paying good money.
Really good.
And you decided to say, you know what? If I could do all of this work for him, why I can't do this for myself?
Exactly.
So you took that big step, man.
Yes, sir.
Was you afraid to do it? Was you contemplating on doing it first, or did you just say, you know what? It's time for me to make my move?
You know what, for me, and I just re-put out that video, man, because I consider entrepreneurs to be the runaways. You know what I mean? There's the ones that when you're on the plantation, your imagination keep running like I wonder what's beyond here. But the things that capture you, like the slave catchers, is the bills. You know what I mean? It's those fears. Because you're always thinking of, maybe I shouldn't do it. You know what I mean? Maybe mom's going to look at me like this, or the family going to look at me like that. They're going to think I'm crazy. So for me, to be honest, what gave me the push was the Second Million Man March. And the message of just do for self kept ringing. But I've always been a Muslim. I was born into Islam. So I always had the message, do for self. So at a certain point in time, it's like, I can't be telling everybody else to do for self.
Right.
And I'm working for the white man. I can't be a black guy working for a white devil. So that was my statement in my head to tell me that, no, let me get that extra push. At the same time, when I'm working for them, I'm an asset to them. I outgrew them. I fired them. I never quit anything in my life. You know what I'm talking about? Because my resume got too big. They could afford me at entry level. But once I learned all of those skills, you understand me, and I started making all of that money, I said, wait a minute. I can't afford to be here, and I can't afford to be with y'all. You understand me? So I took those skills and I started me a business like 2 months after I left the job. But here's the thing. I did it in a manner to where I didn't really have a cushion. You understand me? So the way that I would say you formulate your strategy, because one of the hardest things to do when you quit your job is learning how to manage yourself. And you're going to learn that you got to manage your time. You got to know when to take a break. You got to know proper efficiency and productivity. You understand me? But if you can't manage yourself, then you going to fail and need somebody else to end up managing you, which force a lot of people back into the workplace. So for me, I had to learn as I went. So I was managing, I just got a new apartment, and I just had to take care of the bills at this new store that I was running, and I had to get the inventory and juggle everything. So really, I jumped into a boat that was too small for me. You understand me? So I had to learn how to build the boat as I was going, because the seas got a little rough for me, and I kind of wanted to go back for a second. I was thinking like maybe I was crazy for leaving. But at the same time, at no point in time was I ever going to go back. I was done. You understand me? And I just wanted to utilize all of those skill sets that I had within and use them for myself. But I always tell people, if you don't know, the way you complete your goal is to learn the necessary information and knowledge to complete your goal. So if you don't know something, I'm going to ask somebody. I'm going to go to YouTube University. I start taking online classes, peer-to-peer education, learning by experience. But a lot of people are afraid of failure. They're afraid of their own success. Because once you grip that success, now you got to juggle and manage it all. It's cute when it's just a dream. But when you got to apply work ethic to it, then you're like, damn, now I got to manage these finances. then you don't want to bring anybody else in, because then if you bring them in, if it fails, then it only hurts you. But if you bring other people in, then it hurts everybody. So a lot of people don't want to be leaders of team. Me, I tried to get my family to come in for a long time, but what I realized is that I wasn't creating a family business. I was creating a single entity that was just entertaining myself. So I wanted everybody to support me selfishly. So I had a famous video that went viral about the lack of, or the difference between family and relatives, you understand me, and that non-reciprocal relationship. But once I learned how to build a family business, I had no problem with that reciprocation. My sister worked for me, my brother worked for me, my older sister about to work for me, my mom about to work for me. You understand me? Because it's about creating family business and structures. 2020 is the year of ownership. The way I dictate it is ownership or slave ship. If we don't own it, we don't want it. You understand me? Because once we own it, then we can empower it, create that to be the most valuable thing. I look at hip hop today and I say, look, if you don't own your music, I don't even want to listen to it. You start forcing that to be the popular culture thing, to where cats is talking about deals. It's like, nah, but do you own it? I'll listen to it if you own it. But if you don't own it, you know what? Nah, we ain't listening to that. Because when you own your distribution, you own your masses, when you start to get those streams, we know exactly what community and what kind of family we empowering. But if you don't own it, then it's going back into those exec hands. While you feeding us the bullshit nigga music, it's going to be feeding Jewish communities so that they can continue to empower their people. And the one who rules is the one who has the workforce. Because freedom without power still leaves a man powerless. You know what I mean? So I don't want freedom, I want power. Only a slave just want freedom. So the goal for me to empower myself economically first, because the economics gives you the ability to sustain everything else. You understand me? The media, the education, the security. So if you can't do those things, being able to feed yourself all across the diaspora. I went like United States just this year. Then I went to Africa. Then I went to Jamaica. Then I went to the UK. We spoke at Parliament, Holy Day of Atonement. You understand me? But everywhere I went, I see the same problem. We don't own it. Africa, they don't own the land. You understand me? In Jamaica, they act like niggas. They got food all around them. They don't need to ever go to a grocery store at one point in time in their life. But they go in there and buy the biggest junk food, and that's causing all diabetes to skyrocket. Then they drinking and listening to hip-hop music and the Jamaican music that's just a bunch of nigga shit. But the last bosses that they had out there was Marcus Garvey. But they don't want to follow in the footsteps of Marcus Garvey, so now they Haile Selassie. You understand me? Marcus Garvey wasn't just talking about repatriation and going back to Africa, it was industrialization. Before social media, he had 8 million followers on the Black Star Line 100 years ago today, actually. You understand me? Put a market cap on it at $10 million today to be 144 million. How do you do that? Because organization. But organization's only fear organization, and a lot of brothers just want to, be spiritual today. The spiritual don't come with rules and discipline.
In closing, brother, I see a lot of young brothers, a lot of the youth running around with your bandana on, man.
Sir, the crown.
What brought it? Oh, that's what y'all call it, the crown. You don't call it the bandana.
Not at all.
The crown, okay. I see a lot of young brothers walking around with your crown on today.
Yes, sir.
What brought about that idea? Where did that come from, brother? Because you've been successful with that.
It's funny when you say bandanas, because if you look at the movie Colors psychologically taught people how to gangbang. So it spread the propaganda in the neighborhoods all throughout America. Told brothers what colors to use, what set to throw up, how to bang. So the devil is really good at the propaganda and the marketing. The reason, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Frederick Douglass, and Marcus Garvey is so successful because they own their own media. So black media is important because it spreads the propaganda, the anti-corruption, the truth, to where we can control the perception and reality. So what Colors did as propaganda is it spread that gang information. It taught people those rituals. So instead I said, no, we got to bang righteousness if we go do it in a way, because it's a war in our mind. 70% of our mind is subconscious, so always 70% of the war is subconscious. So for me, I wanted to bang symbols that were of the opposite of the negative. So when you look at sun, moon, and stars, whether you thinking of it as yogis, whether you thinking of the Nation of Islam, whether you thinking of it as the Akan people and how they represent the celestial chieftain in their tribes, whether you just thinking about the cosmic DNA that you attach to as a master of your universe, it's going to be something positive. But if you look at your neighborhoods, sometimes you come down Harlem, you can see a little more propaganda of black consciousness. But if you go through most of America, you ain't gonna see nothing that's gonna tell you to tap into your higher mind. Everything is sex-based, ego, death-based, drugs, bullshit. That's trying to get you to buy because it's all capitalism. So I want the young brothers to walk around with symbols of their higher consciousness. I don't care if I walked in a strip club, somebody gonna recognize it. It's gonna send a mile high realization up, and it's gonna tap into some information that was once attached to these symbols. So I walk around as a living example, and these young brothers know that they need something of that opposite parallel. I had a young brother today, DM, talking about he from the United Blood Nation, and they want to switch off their bandanas because of the negative connotation. Today you see the Crips coming with the Crip Cola, and they trying to rebrand and do a remarketing because they don't want the negative stigmata of all that murder and death on them. But forever it'll be attached to that symbol. So symbols are very powerful because you can't tell a symbol no. You understand me? Once you see that symbol, if you see a Benz symbol, it's going to register all the activity that was ever propagated from the Benz and the marketing. So for me, it's about changing the symbol. So the young brothers, they see the bandanas and they say, oh, for one, this is why, and it represents something different. And we put the EMF chips in there. That's the electromagnetic frequency chips that block out the cell phone radiation. That's messing up the brain cells of these young brothers. So it has double layer components and meanings that, they tap into, because I know how to do it. It doesn't matter to where it's luxury and it's righteous.
Thank you, brother. Can you let the people know what is your social media? So if they want to know more about you,
yes,
how can they find out more about you?
You can go to 19_keys on my Instagram. I got a link tree to everything. I got a YouTube, 19keys, 19KEYS. You can go to my podcast. You can read my book. I have plenty of things, but listen, follow me, and if 19 days I don't change your life, then unfollow me. Tap in.
Peace. Thank you.